2.
You are Locked On Wolves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
T-Wolves, they had a chance, but they just ran out of gas in the fourth quarter to SGA and OKC. What can you say? Final score versus the Thunder tonight, 130-123. What's going on? Back in the lab. Back at it. Another T-Wolves Postcast episode right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. Your team every day. Jack Borman with me as always. Give him a follow on X at JRBorman13. Jack, lots to get into. I know they lost, but some good moral victories in here we'll talk about. A baller night from Jaylen Clark. But first, quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by Game Time. Game Time, download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. All right, so, last time these two teams met, we all remember it, right before the All-Star break. It was like the game of the year for the Wolves. Tonight started out kind of rough, quick 12-point deficit after the first quarter. Wolves rally all the way back, though, thanks to, again, it was a monster night from Jaylen Clark before he got hurt. He had to leave. We'll give you the update on that here in a second. But he had some huge three-point shots in the clutch at the end. Naz Reid was a huge catalyst in their comeback as well. But, it's SGA, man. It's Oklahoma City. They're dominant for a reason, right? SGA comes back in the game with like 8 minutes left, I want to say, 8 and change. And the Thunder just kind of kick things into a different gear while the Wolves they had opportunities. They just couldn't buy a shot, though. None of their open looks were falling all of a sudden. So they lose the rematch here. Final score, again, 123. Wolves drop back to 31-27 on the year. I'd like to start big picture here first, Jack, before we get into all the nuts and bolts. How do you feel about this one? You climb all the way back after a big hole. You end up taking a 5-point lead in the fourth quarter, and then you just kind of run out of gas, and SGA takes over like he always does. Is there a moral victory in here somewhere, or, are you disappointed you kind of let one get away? If you're in that locker room right now, how should we be feeling?
Oh, I don't think those guys – I think those guys are probably disappointed just because they're competitors, sure, and they want to win every game. But I couldn't be less upset or frustrated at this game. You're down 3 starters coming into this game against a pretty much fully loaded OKC squad, minus AJ Mitchell. But, they could have rolled over when they were down 19. They didn't. Could have rolled over when they were down 11 after OKC made 6 threes in a row to make it an 18-2 run. And they didn't. They made OKC sweat it out until the very end. And I just thought the way that the Wolves' top guys impacted this game, despite not shooting it great, was pretty admirable in this game. For Ant shot 8 of 21, but had 10 boards and 7 dimes. Naz was 6 of 18, but had 11 rebounds and 4 stocks. Jaden 5 of 15, but had 13 rebounds, game high 13 rebounds. Nikhil just played his tail off. Shots going in or not, played the final 18 minutes of this game after Jaylen Clark gets hurt. And it was the second straight game where a Wolves opponent just significantly outshot what their average was from 3. OKC's league average from 3-point range, 15th in the league, 36%. Tonight they shoot 19 of 35, 54% from 3. They shot 16 of 28 on above the break threes, specifically 57%. And they normally shoot 35%, which is 16th in the league on those shots. So just kind of got to shake OKC's hand in this game that they, kind of fought back after, letting that 19-point lead slip away and made shots when it counted. And again, the Wolves in the fourth quarter, I thought they generated a lot of really, really good shots for the most part. Ant did a good job getting off the ball, created open shots for his teammates, and shots just didn't go in. And the 2 turnovers they had were Wolves getting stripped on the way to the basket. And those are just good defensive plays, not necessarily bad offensive plays. So nothing to feel bad about if you're the Wolves in this game.
What did you see from an X's and O's standpoint as far as those 6 straight 3-pointers to put OKC back up 11 with 4 minutes and change left? Alex Caruso was a big part of it. He was a huge catalyst. I think he made, I want to say 3 of them. But OKC, again, we had the lead. 5-point lead, 7-8 minutes left. OKC goes on that like 18-2 run. Did you see anything specifically, though, X's and O's wise, that maybe you, obviously looking back, easy to say in hindsight, you wish Finch would have switched up? Or what'd you see out there, I guess? Was it, again, like you said, just shake OKC's hand? They're the best team in the West for a reason? Or was there something you'd like to see them do differently next time around?
Yeah, no, I mean, the first two, SGA just made good plays in the half court. Showed two to the ball and forced Alex Caruso to make shots. I mean, one of them was a late clock, cross court skip pass that was just a moon ball that went in. And then they made a couple of them in transition, right? So one of, the SGA had that three after, Jaden got stripped. Caruso had the strip. And then, I just thought they did a good job of, trying to run out in transition and create open shots against cross matches. And, good NBA teams do that. I don't think that the Wolves, had a bunch of just total defensive breakdowns. OKC just made shots. And I think the Wolves will probably look back. I mean, I don't know how much of this film they'll be able to look at, considering that they play Oklahoma City and, it's 11:40 here at Target Center, and they play again in 20 hours, 19 hours, which is pretty crazy in Oklahoma City. So, not a whole lot to shake your head about from the Wolves, especially from an X's and O standpoint in that fourth quarter.
How good was Naz Reid tonight? I mean, we've been saying that a lot lately, especially now that he's been starting for whether it be Julius or whatnot, but just getting more minutes, chewing up more minutes, as opposed to just being that sixth man coming off the bench. But 22 points, you mentioned this, 11 boards, 4 blocks. I mean, again, they dug themselves in that big hole. He was such a huge catalyst to bring them all the way back. What'd you see from Naz Reid's game tonight?
Yeah, I thought that Naz, especially in that second quarter, just put the team on his back. First to preface it, in the early part of the second quarter, Nickeil Alexander-Walker did an awesome job, made so many awesome passes in the early part of that quarter that I thought helped stimulate some good shots and good rhythm and flow in that offense in the early part of the second quarter that Naz, I think, fed off of and did a good job of just putting the team on his back and making some tough shots and fighting to the free throw line too. There are probably 2 or 3 other shooting fouls that could have gotten called that didn't. But Naz had 12 points in that second quarter, played the entire quarter, was 2 of 3 from 3, just 1 of 5 inside the arc, but made all 4 of his free throws and had 6 rebounds and 3 blocks in that quarter alone. That's a good game. I mean, that's a solid game just in one quarter. I just thought that the way that they were able to play through him was great in this game. And OKC played a lot of a 2-3 matchup zone so they could load up on Ant. And what the Wolves did, and I thought they haven't done a whole lot of this, and so I give Chris Finch credit for some creativity offensively, is that they posted Naz Reid up on the bottom outside guy of that 2-3 zone, whether it was Cason Wallace or Jalen Williams or SGA, depending on the lineup for OKC. Naz doesn't post up a whole lot. That's normally something we'd see Julius Randle do, but I thought Naz did a great job of, drawing the defense in and then making strong passes, trying to work his way to the middle of the floor to either get to that little baby hook or just hit cutters in the middle of the lane. And I thought guys like Terrence Shannon and Nickeil and Jaylen Clark all did a really good job of flashing in the middle of the floor and trying to be there to receive passes. And I thought that the Wolves did a really good job operating against that zone for the most part. Again, for the Wolves to score 123 points tonight was great, especially considering how much offensive firepower they're down and how much they've struggled to shoot the ball from 3 of late. And so I just think what Naz can give you on the drive, he had another crazy step back 3 tonight. You can run plays for him. You can run him off pin downs. You can post him up against the zone. You can put him in the middle of the floor as somewhat of a playmaking hub. I just think his versatility and malleability, especially without Julius Randle, him having to play a lot more minutes at the 5 has been really impressive in this game. And Oklahoma City only had 8 shots at the rim tonight. They took 39 shots in the short mid-range area. We'll get into that a little bit later, but I just think that he's just leaving it all out there. And I think, Naz is not going to, he tends to almost always shoot above 50%, it feels like, but tonight was just one of those nights where the shot wasn't there. But you got to give him a whole lot of credit for the way that he's been battling, playing the 5 pretty much by himself without a whole lot of help in that department.
It was about 2-3 weeks ago, right, when we, after one of the Wolves' nice victories, we dubbed that game the Jaylen Clark game. He kind of busted out of his shell. Fast forward to tonight, he was everywhere, man. Absolute game changer on both ends until he took that nasty spill. He had to leave the game. But, I mean, you got the stats written down right here. Let me pull them up. 14 points, 6 of 7, 2 for 2 from 3, 4 steals, and a plus 20 in his 18 minutes. First of all, just like what'd you see out there tonight, but then bigger picture, when we get the full gambit back, where does Jaylen Clark kind of fit into this rotation, do you think?
Yeah, I think for Jaylen Clark, first of all, I hope he's okay. That
sounds like a
fall
neck more than a concussion or head, but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I don't know if they would say he's in the concussion protocol during the game. He got up and he was pretty wobbly when he got up.
Yeah. It was scary.
So
yeah,
well, it was scary for sure. But for Jaylen Clark, with 4 of those steals, all 4 of those steals led to points going the other way. So I think for Jaylen Clark as a guy, being able to create, live ball turnovers is really important. He created 4 of, Oklahoma City had 13 turnovers tonight. 6 of them were live ball turnovers, and he created 4 of those. I just thought his defensive playmaking is super special, and we've talked about it before that. There are certain guys like Kyrie, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, SGA, who just move differently on the offensive end of the floor than anyone else really in the league. And Jaylen is one of those guys that just moves differently on the defensive end of the floor.
Yeah.
And for him to be able to make plays the way he does is amazing. And I think, too, the way that he doesn't give up on plays, I think we saw the Wolves turn it over a couple times, then he stole it right back.
Mm-hmm.
For them to get points going back the other way is awesome. And then, for him to knock down both of his threes tonight was huge. And then the way that he cuts to the middle of the floor is really impressive. I think, teams are going to want to sag off of him and force him to make shots. And I think the worst thing you can do if you're that guy is just, sit in the corner and let the defense kind of play you out of the game. And I thought his activity setting screens and diving to the rim and cutting the middle of the floor, trying to get his head in there for offensive rebounds. He had that one nice tip in the first half. I just think what he's giving you on both ends of the floor is really important. I think, too, he just really fits what Chris Finch wants guys to do offensively, and that he's making quick decisions. He's moving without the ball. He's setting screens. He's taking shots that are good shots for him. And that's really all you can ask for. And I think, performances like this certainly make people like me for sure think twice about just saying, okay, we have to shoe in Terrence Shannon Jr. to that 9th man spot. I think you can be situational about it in the sense that, if there's a superstar perimeter offensive player, that Jaylen Clark should be getting minutes to try to match up with guys like that, because I think he's proven that he's been the best perimeter defender in one-on-one situations on this team. I think Jaden McDaniels, his versatility and his, super high floor, both on the ball and off the ball is important. But Jaylen Clark is like a 10 out of 10 perimeter defender. And that's just so important in games like this. He held SGA to 1 of 7 shooting in their direct, matchup data from the NBA in the last game. I don't know what it's going to be tonight, but I mean, Jaylen Clark in this game, what was he? He was a plus 20 in this game tonight. The Wolves lost by 7. So the Wolves are a minus 27 in the 30 minutes that Jaylen Clark did not play in this game.
And honestly, you didn't need to be like an NBA expert. If you just sat down and watched that game, you just saw the ripple effect, just the spark that he added right from the get-go, too. I think you put it in your notes, like 2 steals, cashes in for 4 points for the Wolves in like the first 3-4 minutes of the game. So right from the get-go, man. Go ahead.
And the Thunder went on a 25-11 run to close the third quarter after Clark got hurt. So just a real bummer that's how it ended.
Yeah, 100%. Well said. All right, plenty more deep dive from this one, including what Na and Terrence Shannon Jr. brought to the table tonight. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by FanDuel. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. and official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Right now, FanDuel's giving you a chance at a huge return with $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you win your first $5 wager. Why love FanDuel? When you get the hunch in the middle of the game, you can go check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. Again, $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you win your first $5 bet. Go check it all out over at FanDuel.com. Plus, get on some NBA future action while you're there. Naz Reid, 6 Men of the Year odds, still sitting at 5-1. It's all sitting up over at FanDuel.com. Again, check it all out over at FanDuel.com and get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you win your first $5 wager. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, real quick, injury update. Julius, DDV, what's the latest? When could they return? Sounds like we are getting very close.
Yeah, Shams Charania of ESPN reported this afternoon that there's optimism with the Timberwolves that not just Julius Randle, but also Dante DiVincenzo will return at some point on the Timberwolves' upcoming 4-game road trip, which starts tomorrow in Oklahoma City and ends Sunday. So sounds like Randle will, obviously is much closer to being back, just in that he was cleared to resume full contact 5-on-5 practice activities before Dante. So, maybe we see Julius, in the next 2-3 days here, and then Dante maybe on the back half of the road trip. But great news nonetheless, because the Timberwolves sorely need more physicality and playmaking with Randle, and then obviously the shooting with Dante is huge, especially considering now that they lose Jaylen Clark, another guard. So, who knows how long Jaylen will be out. All the best to him. But Wolves just need more able bodies. And certainly great news that those two guys are going to be able to come back.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. Can't wait to get the gang back together. Give me something from the nitty-gritty stuff tonight. Like, the Wolves' maybe inability to close some of these quarters a little bit better, a little bit stronger. That really did feel like kind of a backbreaker, actually. Had the feeling ending every quarter like you got this mountain to climb. Like, you look across the bench, it's OKC. They just ended the quarter with a lot of momentum. Now you got to walk to the bench, and it felt like they had their head down. What'd you see, though, from the nitty-gritty stuff? Anything you want to call out in particular?
Yeah, for sure. I think, starting there with the way that they closed quarters, the Wolves gave up a 6-2 run in the final 106 of the first quarter, highlighted by that really stupid Ant foul with 1.1 seconds left. I'm not sure what he was thinking. Second quarter, you had that 5-0 Jaylen Clark run, and then you get a little unlucky with Jalen Williams hitting a crazy shot at the buzzer, but that was 3 points. That was pretty important over the course of this game. And then the third quarter, you just had Josh Minott checking into the game. Hey, Josh, haven't played in a while. Just go out there and please play hard. Immediately gives up a backdoor cut and fouls the guy and gets called for goaltending. And that capped off an 11-2 OKC run in the final 2 minutes of the third quarter. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can trot Josh Minott out there tomorrow, even if Jaylen Clark doesn't go. I would much rather see, Tristan Newton or, Leonard Miller or someone like that, just because I don't think you can reward what Josh Minott has been giving them on either end of the floor.
Yeah.
So that was a bummer. And then just another or kind of three other smaller areas too that were important coming into this game. The Wolves really needed to do well in three areas coming, if they wanted to walk away victorious in this game. They needed to keep the turnovers low like they did in that first matchup or that matchup, a couple weeks ago, and to shoot the 3-point shot better. And they needed to, get offensive rebounds. And they did all three of those things pretty well for the most part tonight. The two teams tied 13 turnovers apiece, and OKC was +3 in the points off turnover differential, which is not bad at all.
Considering how dominant OKC is in that department, right? Yeah, totally.
No question. And the Wolves have sneakily been, top 6 in the league. They've been 6th in turnover percentage over the last 5 games, so they kept that going tonight. And then 3-point shooting. Wolves came into this game shooting 28.2% in their last 5 games. That's third worst in the NBA. And tonight they shot 40%, 18 of 45 from 3, 40%. And they were 6 of 12 in the corners. points. And that's an awesome number. Getting up 12 corner threes in a game is huge. And that's one area where OKC really struggles. They give up they give up the highest frequency of corner threes in the NBA in terms of if you take how many corner threes a team takes, divide that number by the total number of shots they take, they give up the largest proportion of corner threes relative to the total shot volume. So for the Wolves to be able to create those shots, which are the most efficient shot in basketball outside of a layup, is huge. So and then offensive rebounding, they had 15 offensive rebounds for 28 second chance points again, which is just an awesome number in this game. And it's just a bummer that, and they had more field goal attempts in OKC. That's, we talked about it the other night against the Rockets. The Rockets and OKC are right there at the top of the NBA in terms of, winning the total shot battle. And the Wolves did that tonight. So it was just a bummer, score 123 points. You'd think that would be good enough, but again, got to shake OKC's hand for the way that they, 54% from three, 56% overall from the floor. So just a night where couldn't make enough shots to get it done, unfortunately.
Yeah, 54%. What are you going to do, man? Again, like you said at the top, maybe just got to shake their hand. 6 of 12 from the corner. By the way, that Ant from the corner over Isaiah Hartenstein, basically getting swallowed up like a black hole. It just, I don't know how he even got the shot off, how it wasn't blocked. And then for that to swish in from the corner was just absolutely magnificent. What'd you see from the young pups? I always like checking in the young pups. Shannon Jr., Dilly. What'd you see from them tonight? Both with flashes, albeit in different ways. Both with some inconsistencies as well, like some welcome to the NBA kind of moments as well. But how'd they look, from your scouting report eyes? What'd you see?
Yeah, I thought it was just a solid game from TJ. I would have liked to see him get up more than 7 shots, but he didn't force anything. And I thought he was fine. I thought he had a couple of nice moments where he dived to the front of the rim, made some good cuts to get the ball, and had a nice and one in the first half, which was nice to see. It was unfortunate that they couldn't, get out with him and transition a little bit more. Wolves, lost the fast break battle 23-14 tonight. And that was an area where he was really impactful in that first matchup. So a bit of a bummer there, but again, I thought TJ was totally fine. 7 points on 7 shots. At one point was the leading scorer for the Timberwolves in the first half. So he didn't score in the second half, but and then Rob, Rob, it was just a horrible first stint for Rob. He made several passes that I thought were just super soft and either got tipped and stolen or should have been tipped and stolen and weren't. And then got his pocket picked by Jalen Williams for a dunk going the other way. Chris Finch calls a timeout and takes him out of the game. And rightfully so. He gave them absolutely nothing in the first half of this game. And then I thought he came back in the second half and did a much better job of making crisper passes, making the right reads. Had a really nice pass to Nickeil Alexander-Walker, giving up a good open three to get a great open three for Nickeil, who had made, I think at that point had made like 2 threes in a row and then made a really tough step back shot at the end of the shot clock. So was just kind of feeding the hot hand. I thought that was a really smart pass. And I thought he played a much cleaner and better second half that is much more, I think, commensurate of what we expect from someone like him, albeit in a smaller role. But for Rob Dillingham to only take 1 shot in 10 minutes, like I know his confidence is probably down a little bit after Chris Finch tore into him in that game in Houston on Friday night, but they've just got to get more from him. I mean, especially when you consider that Ant was really struggling in this game, and you look at, Ant, Jaden, and Naz in this game go 19 for 54 in this game.
Yeah.
They just needed more offense. And I think, again, it's an area where I think you got to tip your cap to Nickeil Alexander-Walker that he's done a really good job of scaling up his scoring, especially in the last few weeks here as they've been even more shorthanded now without Rudy Gobert. I think just the way that all those guys have just battled and hung in there has been really important. And it's just unfortunate that Rob hasn't been able to give them more because, if Rob Dillingham's not able to kind of grab a stranglehold on some minutes here at a time when the Wolves are down 3, maybe 4 rotation players now, it just makes the path forward pretty murky for Rob. I think, Conley is going to be around next year, most likely. He's under contract for another year. And Dante is obviously going to be around, and he's probably going to be the starter. throughout the rest of this season and into next season. And he's got to have a huge offseason, I think, because they were really aggressive in going out and getting him, trading a 2031 unprotected first-round pick to go get him. And, certainly a vote of confidence in him being the future of the point guard position. And it's pretty tough when you say that the game is pretty easy and then you just fall off a cliff in terms of your impact. So, you hope that Rob can kind of find it again, just because he looks pretty lost out there. And it's just unfortunate, considering that this is a time when you certainly need him to step up. And we saw a lot more of those flashes at a much higher rate earlier on in the season. And it's just not there right now at a time when they really need him. And so hopefully he'll be able to, bring it better tomorrow, especially if Jaylen Clark is out, and they'll certainly need him just with how much they'll be down. But maybe we'll see more Joe Ingles tomorrow and kind of that secondary playmaking role out there to help Rob out. But man, it's been tough. And I think it's kind of the first point where you really start to ponder and consider, like, are we sure the Wolves are going to, ride this out?
Yeah. What's it look like?
Because it doesn't seem like Chris Finch is a big fan of Rob Dillingham, certainly with the way that, he's kind of treated Rob's minutes of late. And so that's a pretty big pick to move for Rob. And so I don't know, it's somewhat interesting if you go play in the trade machine and figure out if the Wolves do end up going after Kevin Durant this summer, they're going to have to match salaries somehow. And, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. You're not saying, you're just saying. That's what you're saying. You're not saying, you're just saying. Couple minutes left. We should talk about this rematch then tomorrow night on the back-to-back in OKC. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode also brought to us by BetterHelp. When your schedule gets packed with work projects and more, it's so easy to let your priorities start to slip, even when we know what makes us happy. But when you feel like you got no time for yourself, non-negotiables like therapy, they're more important than ever. If you've been thinking about starting therapy, maybe it's time to give BetterHelp a try. Entirely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited for your schedule. So simple. All you got to do, you fill out a brief questionnaire, you get matched up with the licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. Go visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today. You're getting 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Okay, OKC up next in their building this time, like you said, about 18 and a half hours from now. What, if anything, do you expect to look different, I guess, this next time around? Like if you're Finch, you just mentioned Joe Ingles, perhaps. Do you roll with the same punches knowing, hey, we put ourselves in position to win that game? Or does this have the feel of like maybe a starter or two getting a night off kind of thing? Or, what's your kind of early vibes, I guess, on your preview for this rematch tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think I'd certainly expect one or two guys in OKC. I'd especially look at Chet Holmgren or Alex Caruso or Cason Wallace as guys that might sit tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Just because those guys have been kind of in and out of the lineup with injuries and rest and whatnot, or, kind of working their way back from longer term injuries. So that's certainly something to monitor for sure. I think you could say the same thing for the Wolves. Ant obviously has had that hip, that groin, that sickness, whatever the reporting was out of All-Star weekend. So maybe it's a game where he gets a night off and we just see more, Joe Ingles, maybe Leonard Miller. I'm not sure, frankly, but again, it's just the same tenets that you're going to need tomorrow night. You're going to need take care of the ball, crash the offensive glass, and shoot threes really well, and then hope that you can, slow Shea down between his cousin, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, and Jaden McDaniels. We'll see. Yeah. And obviously, who knows if Mike Conley plays too.
Right.
Considering he's 37 years old now, playing two games in less than, 22 hours is pretty tough. So we'll see what happens.
What else is going on around the league since we last checked in on that? Obviously, again, OKC's fantastic. Boston dominating. Cleveland just won a nice game tonight. Put up 140 points or something like that. But what else is just catching your eye, I guess, around the league right now in the NBA?
Yeah, the Warriors have certainly caught my
Yeah.
eye. I think Steph's been awesome playing off of Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler's kind of given them another guy that can get into the paint. I think they've been number one in the league in free throws made since Jimmy Butler was required, and that's an area that they were awful in for the majority of the season. So I'd try to watch a Warriors game if you're a fan just looking for other things around the league. Luka really started to look like Luka last night, had like 30, 10, and 7 against the Nuggets in a super impressive win for the Lakers, who have been a very fun watch, especially in transition with Luka and LeBron and Austin Reeves looking like a really, really nice third option, which has been fun to watch too. Yeah, I'd say those two teams have certainly caught my eye the most. And I just think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with the Knicks in the playoffs, because the Knicks have, really struggled against kind of some of these teams in the upper echelons of the NBA, and struggled again against Boston today. And coming on the heels of getting absolutely waxed by Cleveland, and some of the Knicks fans are starting to realize that Karl Anthony Towns is a 5 and drop coverage as your primary big man has been tough at times, for sure, even when you're insulated by 3 really awesome defenders and Anunoby, Bridges, and Hart. So it's kind of interesting. Going to be kind of interesting to see how they match up with the top of the East, because it seems pretty clearly like they're in tier 2 with the Bucks down there, in that 3 spot right now. Bucks, I think, are either 4th or 5th.
They're at 5 right now. And guess who's nipping at their heels right now at 6?
Our Detroit Pistons won a barn burner. Baby. I think it was 144, 143 today.
148, 143. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hope you took the over.
Awesome.
Hope you took the over on that. My goodness. Yeah.
Yeah. Our Pistons are doing the damn thing, man. So it's hopefully that pick will convey, and they'll get another young pup in here that can, hopefully get in the rotation next year.
Make a little impact. Yeah, absolutely.
We got to pile up again.
We got to get out of here. T-Wolves run out of gas after a heavyweight bout. It was another good game despite the loss. Final score versus the Thunder, 130-123. Again, they dropped to 31-27 on the year. As always, huge shout out to all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. All you guys coming in the chat with us from game to game. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and please go follow Jack on X at JRBorman13. He's live from the Target Center during almost every home game. Again, OKC up again tomorrow, 7 p.m. tip-off. I believe we go from TNT to NBA TV tomorrow night if you're trying to catch that one. But we'll catch you right here, same time, same place. But until then,